He feel winter shit, right?
You know.
Say J. Ron.
This is a
So you think that you're ready to move out? So did I.
Production.
Real talk, girl. If you want it, you can get it. Real talk, girl. Over here,
Hello
over there,
everybody,
real
and welcome
talk,
back to my
girl.
channel. On today's video, we're going to be talking about something that we all, well, most of us, just dream and wish and hope for all throughout our teenage years, and that is moving out. In this video, I'm going to be talking about my own struggle with this concept, and then as well as some questions that I think you should ask yourself before making that leap and moving out of your parents' place. So if that's something that you're interested in seeing, then I would definitely encourage you to keep on watching. So my whole struggle with moving out began when I was 15 years old. I'm not gonna go like super in depth because I don't want this video to be long, but when I was 15, like starting from 15, I knew at 18 I wanted to move out, right? However, the way things worked out, I'm 23 going on 24 this year, and I'm still living with my grandparents. I definitely did not move out, and that was at 15 me just wanting that freedom, wanting to stay out as late as I wanted to. I don't know, like to do what, because I'm antisocial and I'm not a person who would want to go out clubbing and all that stuff anyway. So I don't know why I wanted to stay out late, but I wanted to stay out late. I wanted to be able to run my own life and do whatever I wanted to do. Obviously that was not possible at 18, because at 18 I did not have a full-time position. Like even at 20, you know, I'm like a work study, I'm a college assistant. There's no way I'm able to find an apartment. But that did not stop me from going on Zillow and all these different apartment websites and dreaming and hoping. Finally last year I felt like it was a good year to move out. Prior to, of course, my father passing away, I thought that it would be a good year to move out. I thought that I finally had finances, I had enough money saved up and all these things to make that transition. But then a couple of things that happened that made me realize maybe it's not the right time to move out. So I started off, I did everything the proper way. You know, I googled and I watched YouTube videos. So I followed other people's journey and their process, and you know, applied some of that to my own journey and my own transition. So why do I sound like I'm like transitioning from women to men or something like crazy, but whatever. So I started looking months ahead because I'm that type of person. Like I had to plan things months ahead, and I learned that realtors do not hold apartments for that long. They're not interested in showing you an apartment if you're looking to move in 3 to 4 months from when you speak to them. So then I learned that, you know, let's figure some other things out in the meanwhile, because at the moment no one's really gonna take you seriously, right? So I looked into the types of things that they're gonna need from you, that I thought they would need from you. So I tried to get those types of papers ready, and I also ended up googling how much rent you could afford, and learned that the amount that I was looking for, I could not afford it. And it's a thing where, you know, in your mind it's like, well, I get paid this much, you know, if my rent is this much and I'm still able to pay my bills, then you know I should be fine. I can afford it. And I learned that's not the case. You know, you really have to think about what's important to you. So that's the first question. When I said in the intro that some questions that I think you should ask yourself before you make that move is, what is important to you? Is saving for a car important to you? Is, you know, in the long run, what's the most important thing to you? If it's just, you know, I need a place to live, the condition I'm in is so horrible that I'm willing to have just enough to pay my rent and my bills and maybe buy food and I'll be happy. Like for me, that wasn't the case. I wanted to every year have my savings be bigger, to save up to eventually be able to buy a house and do all these big things. And that was not possible. So basically what happened was I had all the money saved up for the first month's rent, security, and all that stuff. I was ready. I found an apartment that was in a nice building, had a doorman and everything. It was a nice building. It had laundry and everything. And it was those types of building that it was so nice that you had to be interviewed. You needed recommendation letters. It was a lot. But I was determined, and I was like, you know what? It's doable. It's just one train from my job that I have to take. I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna feel comfortable. It was a studio, and it wasn't exactly like the way that it was shaped and everything. I wasn't able to do like what I wanted to do as far as my having a space for my YouTube filming and all that stuff. But I was like, you know what? It's just me. It's doable. I'm gonna make it work. It had a lot of closet space. It seems perfect. The day I had everything set, I had everything ready. I went to drop off the application. Like a couple of days, not a couple of days, like the day after I dropped my application, I really had to sit there and put things into perspective, right? So my options was either to move in with my grandparents and have like my own room and all that stuff and be really, really far from my job, stay where I live currently, which I didn't like I hated it. It was just a bad neighborhood, bad building, whatever, or move out into my own apartment, have my own place, have my own freedom. But then like I would have enough, don't get me wrong, I would have enough to pay for my rent, for my bills, and have a little bit left over for food and for like to go out. I wouldn't be able to go out as often as I like to go out to restaurants and things like that, but I would get to go out once or twice a month. It was doable. But then I really thought about it, and enough for my savings. But then I thought about it. At the end of that year, I would be exactly where I was currently. As far as savings wise, it was so little that I would be able to save that it just was not worth it. So I ended up calling back the realtor and apologizing and saying, I think this is not right, like it's not a right fit for me. I think I lied and it's like I found some other place or something like that, but I didn't go through with it. So yeah, that was my whole experience. So the first question would be, the first question is, how much rent could you really afford? So when I Googled that really put things into perspectives. I had to change the search criteria that I was putting up, because I realized that the amount that I thought I was able to pay wasn't necessarily what I could afford. It's a thing of like, you have the money. It's kind of like, okay, you have $200, right? In a shoe, like you found a shoe is $200, but you still have to eat, you still have to do other things. So although you can pay for the shoes, you can't afford it. So yeah, that was basically my whole experience with that. So my tip or my questions that I think that you should ask yourself is, how much rent can you afford? What is your goal? What is the end goal? Will this help you in your end goal? Is your situation bad enough that you have to leave it? And what is the end goal? Will this move be beneficial to you in the long run? And for me, it wasn't going to be beneficial. I would not be able to, my main goal was to save. And that's something else I also learned from my financial advisor. She was asking me, as far as your finances, what is your goal? Is your goal to buy a house? Is your goal to save? Is your goal to pay loans and all this stuff? So my goal is to save as much as possible to get certain things. And moving out, although I would have the freedom, I would have all these things that I've always wanted, it would not help me in the long run, in the end goal. So definitely, before you move out, ask yourself those two important questions. There are so many other questions that you need to ask, can you live by yourself? That's something that scared me, living by myself. I'm a very paranoid person, so that idea scared me. So can you live by yourself? How much rent can you afford? Will this move be beneficial to your end goals? All those types of things you need to, you have to figure out what type of person are you. Can you live with a roommate? I knew that I could not live with a roommate. Like, like my personality, I can't have somebody like just be barging into my space and like while I'm not there. Like, you have to know the type of person you are. You have to know what's the most important to you. What are the most important things to you in having an apartment? So for me, it was to have laundry services on like within the facility. For you, it could be something else. Maybe it has to have parking. You have to have good parking space because you drive, or it has to have an exercising facility, of exercising room, because you don't want to also have to pay for gym. Like, all those things you have to think about before you go into the apartment search. And before deciding that you're ready to move out, you need to think about, can you afford the rent? Will it help you in the long run in reaching your goals? So those were some really simple tips, but those are the tips that I have. Those are the questions that I think that you should definitely ask yourself before you make that move to move out and go off into the world. Because the worst thing to me would be to ever have to move out and then have to move back in because I didn't think the whole thing through. Anyways, thank you so much for joining me. I'm sorry if I was spitting the whole time. Like, I'm just looking down now and I'm just like, whoa, girl. Yeah, so that's basically it for this video. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you next time on my channel.
Production.
Real talk, girl. If you want it, you can get it. Real talk, girl.